Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Chase. Hope everyone's having a great Tuesday. Today we are talking and making chicken wings, which I'm very excited about. So grab a drink, let's get cooking. Cheers guys. Okay, so just right off the bat, I forgot to mention yesterday when we were talking about crouton Caesar salad, how to hold your croutons if you have leftovers, which would be surprising because they're so delicious. But this is your best method for keeping them crispy. They'll hold for a couple weeks because they're completely dehydrated from the oven. But just a container, it doesn't have to be a liter container. That's what we call them in a restaurant, half liters or liters. It could be a Tupperware or Rubbermaid or something with just a dry piece of paper towel on the bottom. And you just don't want to pack them in, obviously. But yeah, then they'll cover it up airtight, and this will hold for, like I said, a couple of weeks. I just wanted to mention that because you don't want to put them in a Ziploc bag. You want the paper towels in there to absorb any excess moisture, and that's what keeps them crispy. So if you for some reason don't have Tupperware or anything, you do put them in a bag, just make sure you line it with some paper towel, but that's a much more ideal situation. So, that's out of the way. Let's talk about chicken wings and frying chicken wings and what that is doing, and there's a lot of different methods. I'm going to show you the way I like to do it and kind of why I like to do that. So first of all, let's talk about the anatomy of a wing. So this is a whole chicken wing, and it is in kind of three parts. So there's the drum right here. You can kind of say like that. They call this the flat, and then this is the tip. So a lot of times they'll be sold and they'll already be cut up for you. That's great. Sometimes they're sold like this, and you don't necessarily have to butcher them. By butchering them, I just mean splitting them into the drum and the flat. Some places fry them like this. I don't like it doing it that way for two reasons. One, it ups the cooking time because it creates a really dense part right at the joint that takes a long time to cook. So they cook faster when they're separated. And also this flap of skin right here, it's really hard to get it really crispy. When you are cooking it all, it kind of contracts like this, and you end up, they come out of the fryer kind of in this shape. And again, that just makes a really dense block of meat that takes quite a long time to cook. And with most meats, actually all meats, the thing that takes the longest to heat up is the bone. So when you're doing like a bone-on ribeye, that piece of meat that touches the bone, that's why it's always the most rare. It's because the bone has no moisture in it, and water heats up faster than a solid. That's why ceramic ovens are made of stone, right? So the bone takes a super, super long time to get hot, and therefore that meat along the bone takes a really long time to cook. So that's why I always cut it and separate it out. So it's really, really straightforward process to do. And like I said when we were talking about the thighs, boning of the thighs, I just use a small paring knife. There's this notion you see people in videos with big cleavers chopping. It's not really how we do it, right? So the best way to do it is you're going to take your wing, and you're going to, again, hard to do with showing people, and you're going to cut it along there to get through that skin. And you're just going to find the joint, and your knife will kind of naturally go there, right? So you can see that I've gotten in that joint, and you're just going to follow along. So you're not cutting through any bone. You're just kind of letting your knife follow that natural joint. Now, from here, I leave this tip on because it's tons of nice crispy skin, and I'm kind of an animal and I like to kind of chew on that crispy skin. If you don't want that, which you totally don't need, it's the exact same process, right? You're taking your knife and you're following, see, right there, I hit a bone. It's not going through. I know I'm not in the right spot. You just kind of move your knife around until it goes through. And you'll end up with, don't throw these tips out. These are perfect for stock. These are actually in the kitchen. They sell these tips. You can order them from the butcher to make chicken stock. And they're the best piece for chicken stock because all it is collagen and skin. And that makes that really thick, like tacky mouthfeel. So this, of all the things you don't want to throw out, do not throw these out if you take them off. So I'll show you with one more wing. kind of what that looks like. Just get rid of these. So again, kind of up. You're just taking your knife. And if you feel like right there I hit a bone, so I know I'm not in the right spot, right? And you're kind of just finding this little spot between the joint and sliding down. So that's why you don't need a giant cleaver. You're not forcing anything to happen. You're just using the knife and kind of going through the bone. Same thing with here. Right? I'm not using that much force or anything. It's all just kind of, and you'll figure out where that spot is, where that joint actually lies, and it becomes quite a quick process. Okay, so let me just, I actually don't need to wash my hands because all I'm doing is touching chicken. Get rid of this board. So let's talk about breading. Okay, so I'm pretty traditional when it comes to my breading for wings. I just use all-purpose flour. And I don't salt them or do anything ahead of time because I'm going to season them quite heavily when they come into the fryer. And really, if you really wanted to salt them ahead of time, I would recommend brining them, where you're soaking them in a liquid salt solution. I don't think it's necessary for chicken wings because they're getting breaded heavily, they're seasoned in the fryer, and then usually they're getting hot sauce or barbecue sauce on top. The benefit is not quite there for the amount of work, but there is some technique in terms of breading. So, again, unsalted, all-purpose flour. You're just getting a nice coating, and you're really, really working that coating in. So you're getting every nook and cranny, taking it out. I kind of just hit them on their own wing, on another wing. I do 2 at a time. And then they're going onto a resting rack that allows air to come underneath. And then they're going to go, lift my hands up. And then they're going to go into the fridge for half an hour. So you're going to bread all your wings. And from there, you could just put them in the fryer. But if you want to go for the ultimate, super, ultra crispy wing, these are the steps you're going to go with. So they come out of the breading, they go into the fridge for half an hour. Then they're going to look like these. So these have been in the fridge for about 45 minutes after the first breading. And you can see the flour has absorbed into the skin there, and you're starting to get spots that look like they were never breaded. You can really see it down in there. Along there. You're going to take these out. You're going to bread them one more time. Then you're going to put them in the fridge for another half hour. And then they're going to end up like this. And what we're going for here, and it's hard to tell, I'm sure, on camera, but to the feel, these are sticky because the moisture in the skin has absorbed into the flour and made the flour tacky. Out of that, when you bread them again, it absorbs every last bit of moisture, and that's our goal when we're frying here, right? We want it as dry as possible to create the crispiest possible skin and breading. So once it's kind of, we're gonna say hydrated. The flour is hydrated, so that means it's sticky again. And you bread them one more time, you end up with a wing like this that is completely dry. At home, when you do this, you'll touch this and it's going to feel damp. You're going to touch this, it feels bone dry. Now these are ready to go into the fryer. And after they go for the second breading, I let them sit for another half an hour. So, just to go through the process again, you've butchered your wings, toss them in the flour, set them in the fridge for half an hour on a rack so the air can get underneath. Pull them out, bread them one more time, the same flour, don't throw it out. Back on the rack, in the fridge for another half hour, 45 minutes. Pull them out, and they're ready for the frying. So, these 2 rings are ready to go in the fryer. I've got my oil preheated here to about 350 degrees. And again, just like the fish, we're dropping in and dropping away from us, right? And that's some good action. You want nice aggressive bubbles. We're cooking a very small piece of meat, which you're going to cook in about 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, depending on the size of the meat. So we don't need the oil to be super low in temperature. We can go for something a little hotter. So at 350, 375 is a perfect temp. Put these back in. So when we're in in a restaurant, like when they're doing fried chicken for like full fried chicken, a lot of times they're going to soak them in buttermilk. And you can do that with wings. Again, I just don't think it's necessary for such a small piece of meat. But what they're doing there is basically marinating and kind of helping break down that tissue to make it softer. And you're going to hear it, it's kind of going crazy. But that's completely normal. I'm going to grab fluffy over. Because there's quite a bit of moisture coming out of the wing. And just kind of turn them over. You can see you're already developing really, really nice color. Right? So, in the restaurant, like I said, a lot of times they'll be marinating their chicken in buttermilk and letting it sit in the buttermilk overnight. Then they'll flour it, and they'll actually just let it sit in the flour completely submerged for 24 hours. And the next day they pull it out. And this is kind of mimicking that process. It's trying, and it's doing the same thing. It's trying to achieve the same goal. It's just pulling out as much moisture from the skin as possible. So when they go into the fryer, they end up with as crispy as possible breading, or exterior, or skin, or whatever you want to call it. But this is why you're kind of flouring, fridge, pull out, flour again. If you had all the time and you knew you were having wings the next day, you could take your bowl, toss your wings in it, have it completely submerged in flour, and just stick that whole bowl in the fridge. And then the next day when you go to fry, pull it out, shake off the excess flour right in the fryer. Okay, so our wings are frying here. This is, like I said, going to be another 3 or 4 minutes. Let's talk about sauce. So, we are making buffalo wings today, kind of the classic. The two components are Frank's Red Hot sauce, and this must be Frank's. In Buffalo, this is always Frank's.
Yeah.
And butter. Question?
Is seasoning the flour ill-advised?
Not ill-advised, unnecessary. So, we talked about this when we were talking about, I think, the breading fish, or just general deep frying in general. You can season the flour, but you don't know how much of that breading is sticking to your wing, right? So you don't know how much seasoning is actually on. This is just the way I think about it. And a lot of places have this super secret seasoning in their breads, like KFC, and all these 11 herbs, spices. My thought on it is that you don't know how much of that breading is sticking to each piece of chicken, so you don't know how much salt or seasoning is on each piece of chicken. So I would rather just use the breading like a cooking agent to create that crust and then season the food. And the salt honestly sticks so well. And this comes out of the fryer. I'm just going to turn the chicken again. And I'm only turning it because there's not a crazy amount of oil in here. So the chicken isn't fully submerged. So you're going to season it when it comes out, and when I season it, I know how much salt. I can see how much salt I'm putting on it. So for me, it just feels more controlled. Also, just be careful what you're putting in there, because some spices will burn and cook. And like paprikas and stuff, for me, again, it's just like the oil is so hot that you could burn your herbs and spices, and that's not a real pleasant taste. That's my thought on it. So, again, buffalo wings, a combination of butter and Frank's. The cool thing about using this is actually a really, really cool concept for a dressing for a wing, because you know when you put barbecue sauce on a wing and it gets soggy? You made the beautiful breading, it's so crispy, everything's great. You put the barbecue sauce on, it all feels very soggy. Well, think about what this is frying in is fat, right? So putting more fat, which butter obviously is a fat, on it, that doesn't actually take any crispiness away, right? So when you go to like, I'm sure people have heard Nashville hot chicken. It's like a very, very spicy chicken. What they actually do is they take all their spice and they put it in chicken fat or beef tallow or just fryer oil. And they pump it full of cayenne, dried ghost pepper, whatever their spice blend is. Chicken comes out of the fryer hot, and gets dipped back into a fat with all the spices on it. And that's how the Nashville hot chicken stays so crispy. It's because they're dousing it in another fat rather than a barbecue sauce, which is tomato and molasses and all that. So that's why it holds its crisp. So, for the butter, again, just like our croutons, I am totally fine with using a microwave to melt butter. I think it's actually the most efficient way to do it. If you don't have a microwave, Laurel, you can just get a pan and melt some butter. Let's come over here there, Ty. Okay, so our chicken is almost done. Now what you're looking for, it's almost done. You can see when we put it in initially, it was going crazy and tons of bubbles were reacting. So that was the moisture pulling out of this. As that moisture diminishes and the chicken gets closer to being done, the bubbles are going to slow down. So right now, the inside of it is just releasing that last little bit of moisture. And probably in another minute, these wings are going to be done. But you can see how beautiful that color is. It's gold, deep golden brown. Incredibly crispy. So we're just going to kind of let that go for 45 seconds to mash. Butter needs another 10 seconds. And then we're going to mix our butter and our franks to make our sauce. And when you go to a place in Buffalo, how hot their wings are, how hot their hot wings, is just a ratio of franks and butter. So the more mild the wings are, the more butter it is, and the less franks. And the spicier it is, the more pure franks it is. And then places will bump up franks and they'll add kind of ghost pepper and stuff like that. So our wings are good. I'm just pulling them out. Now I've just got a metal colander here over a steel bowl just to drain the fat. And right now you're going to take salt and you're just going to kind of add some seasoning to it. There, and you can see, you can hear that crisp? These wings are incredibly crispy. So I'm just going to let those sit for a second. We're dressing a wing, bigger bowl than you think you need. From experience, this is going to be your least messy option. So you got your melted butter. I got about a tablespoon and a half of melted butter. Pop your lid off your franks, drop it. I'm going to add about equal parts of franks. And you're just kind of swirling the bowl to create a buffalo sauce. Right? And also, remember when we talked about dressing your Caesar salad? That's our buffalo sauce. Remember when we talked about dressing our salad? You're dressing from the side of the bowl. It's the same thing with the wings. You're just tossing here. Kind of spinning them around the bowl. And if you're not comfortable with this, and you don't want to be tossing, tongs, completely fine. Boom. So, that is buffalo wings. You're going to take them out of here, get them on a little plate. Eventually we're going to have sports back on. Go find yourself an NBA game, a football game. If you wanted blue cheese dip, you could do that. Carrot sticks. I don't have any carrot sticks or celery. You can put those on the side. But this is a knockout, absolutely insanely crispy buffalo wing. And this technique can be applied to whole chicken as well. So if you want to do bone-in chicken thighs or boneless chicken thighs or drumsticks, obviously you're going to adjust the cooking time because they're a bigger piece of meat, but the exact same technique of flouring in the fridge, flouring again in the fridge, then to the fryer. This can apply to any piece of chicken you want to do, and it will end up with super crispy skin, which is what we're going for, and just a beautiful piece of fried chicken. So, there you go, buffalo wings. Thanks for tuning in. If you're cooking along and making the recipes, make sure to tag me at Chase Rose, hashtag Cooking with Chase. Again, love seeing all the people that are cooking along. T. Kenny. You're killing it out there. And Stinson, if you're watching, I'm sorry you couldn't be part of our Hot Wings episode. I know you wanted to be, but we're under quarantine, man. Just gonna have to make Hot Wings another time. Anyway, stay home, stay safe, eat well, and I'll see you tomorrow at 5. Thanks, guys.